Hello and welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live with myself, Daniel Caw, and I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith, how you doing?
You're just moving in here now permanently, aren't you?
I was going to say, this is
I'm glad that you're back, Daniel.
this is a sitcom waiting to happen, I feel like.
A sitcom.
Well, look, let's get right down to business.
Yeah.
I've had to drag you off the phone,
Yes,
away from your computer because there's so much going on.
there is a bit.
Obviously, as we sit here tonight, we've talked a lot through the week about Lauren Shankland,
Mm-hmm.
but Rangers doing business elsewhere.
Yeah.
Robin Proper. We understand that probably by this time tomorrow will be a Rangers player.
There seems to be quite a lot. Right up until 10 minutes ago, Robin Proper was priority number one in terms of this looks like the big story. There seems to be other things bubbling around.
Yeah.
I think Rangers might be keen to try and get some stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we have a guy on Hotline Live last night? One of the guys said there might be two in before the weekend.
He did.
Interesting. It's too early. I mean, literally, I've just come off this a chat there, and let's just leave it at something is bubbling.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not it comes to fruition, it's way too early to say, and I've not had time to verify anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's getting to that point now. You get the 2 points, don't you, during the transfer window, just before the actual season gets up and running, the league season, and there's a kind of late flurry of activity sometimes before that weekend. And then things can then go quiet again. It could be a bit of a lull, and then it all starts to pick up again towards the end of August. But yeah, it would seem to me that quite a few people are being quite active.
Yeah.
As Saturday draws closer.
And I should say, for everyone watching, I really did pull him off his phone. We're not making it up. He really was on the phone there. There seems to be a lot going on. But the stuff that we can talk about, Robin Proper, 20 captain. Bit of a surprise, Rangers kind of get.
Yeah, that one did come out of the blue. Yes, pardon the pun. But it did. It was a name that I hadn't seen or heard. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, as I'm sure people will be quick to say. But it caught most people on the hop.
Yep.
Everybody. It was this morning actually. A contact of mine in Holland got in touch to say, look, this is a goer.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first I'd heard the name. And then it became clear from the conversations with people in Holland that not only had a fee been agreed, but it seems the financial terms for the contract have been sorted out, the personal terms, and it got so advanced so quickly that he was getting on a plane to come to the UK.
Yeah.
Medical should be, for all I know, he's going through it right now. I would expect announcement probably tomorrow, at some point tomorrow, at the very latest Friday, but I don't see any reason why it would be delayed as far as Friday, because from everything we're hearing from Holland, it's so far advanced. It really is. Unless there was a problem with the medical, I think that Proper becomes the next new arrival in at Rangers. It's a significant sum of money as well, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And it feeds back into, on Monday night we were talking here, and I was aware that there was conversations going on inside Ibrox about, prioritising what they spend,
where the money went,
what money they've got,
Aye.
what money they can afford to spend now, and what's the priority.
Yeah.
It would appear very much like proper is the priority, given that they've lost Connor Golson, and this is the first one, and they've gone in, and it's a significant sum. We think somewhere in the region of £2.5 million.
Yeah.
A guy who was a real stalwart for 20 Enschede last season, and the surprise is that they've got a lot on their plate. They've got a lot on their to-do list. They've got big ambitions for European football this season as well. So to lose a stalwart like that, it's I must admit, it's caught me by surprise. But as I said, maybe now's the time not to be surprised or blindsided, because I think there's quite a lot of activity going on.
Yeah.
I think that there's the internal discussions Rangers were having late into Monday. I think they've obviously sorted out an action plan, and it seems to me that things are starting to click into gear.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch this space. Right, we obviously spoke earlier on to a transfer.
Well, he's the guy that you really need to speak to.
I was going to say, look, we're great, obviously. We are top of the line guys.
Yeah.
Don't need to say anything else about that. We are. Right, but we spoke to a transfer guru, Scott Burns, a little earlier on today, and here's what he said with all the latest transfer news. Listen, Burnsy, only one place for us to start as we sit here tonight. Robin Proper, captain of 20 in the Eredivisie, looks like very soon he'll be a Rangers player.
Yeah, certainly. Between the two clubs, he's been given permission to to travel to Scotland. And it's a case of just sorting out personal terms and then passing the medical. And I would expect him to become Rangers' next signing. Over the next year or so, I'd expect that to be confirmed.
I think the personal terms are done as well. I think it really is now just a matter of going through, ticking off the boxes at the medical. I actually, we're hearing, I don't know about yourself, I expect this one to be finalised probably tomorrow, Friday, the absolute latest, but I see no reason why it won't be done and dusted tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely seems to have full steam ahead sort of thing in terms of, in fairness to Rangers, once they identify the players, and if they can get the deals done, they do tend to get them pushed over the line quite quickly, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this one, he's obviously coming in as a replacement for Connor Golson, but I was actually speaking to the former Rangers and 20 goalkeeper Theo Seldos this afternoon about Mr. Proper, and he couldn't speak more highly about him as a player, a captain, a leader, and he just says he believes that he's got everything that you need to succeed at a big club like Rangers.
And we can look forward to reading that in tomorrow's newspaper. Burnsy, is that what you're doing? You're plugging your work here?
Just once I finish this, I'll be able to go and fill that, yes. All good news agents.
Listen, see, the thing is with this, though, it is interesting. On Monday, Burnsy, it was my information that Rangers were having a lot of internal meetings based around their transfer targets, the money that's available to spend. And I think it was a matter, and I'd obviously mentioned, I thought that they might go in for Shankland as early as Tuesday. That hasn't happened. It suggests to me that in terms of prioritising internally, the money was first and foremost, let's get ourselves the best centre half that's been identified. Is that where they're at just now? It's kind of, as one goes out, then they can start to plan for another one coming in with just the list of priorities.
I think it's well documented that money's quite tight at Rangers. I wouldn't say there's no money there because there seems to be funds available there.
Mm-hmm.
They're obviously not spending big fees, but I know that there are fees there for players. But I think as it stands, I know that there's a couple of deals they've been speaking to people with. I'm speaking to targets, and there's 2 or 3 players that they need to move on, sort of thing, to free up budget. I think James Tavernier's obviously been linked with a few teams. If they can get him off the wage bill, there's 2 or 3. We can't talk whatever happens with Todd Cantwell. 2 or 3. If they can get these players off the wage bill, bring in a fee, then I think that will go to the new targets.
Yeah, Hadji's another one. I do think though it is a difficult one because they need to be guaranteed that cash coming in the way before they can start guaranteed cash going out the way. So it's a sort of a day by day basis just now. But it's interesting. I find that Proper has been identified as the priority. This is the guy they have to bring in, and they've moved pretty quickly, as Scott says, after losing Golson.
The one thing that I would say, Scott, is obviously that Robin Proper, he's 31 in September. We talked to obviously Keith your stuff about Shankland throughout the week. These players are ready-made players. It's obviously a very conscious change from Rangers, who at the start of the summer brought in a few project players. Proper players like Shankland, they are ready to go right into the first team.
Oh, definitely, and I think Philip Clement said that. We're bringing younger players, but further down the line, we're bringing in big hitters who come in, strengthen the team, and be ready to hit the ground. And that's what they've got to do. They're still probably 2 or 3 short at least. On that front, but I think, by all accounts, by the people you speak to about Proper, he is one who will fit that bill. And he certainly seems to be one. He's 31, but by all accounts, he looks to be a very late bloomer, and he's been very influential in that 20 Enschede team over the last 2 or 3 years, where haven't been outside the top 5 in the Eredivisie.
I have to say, Burnsy, you're right, and I actually find it a bit of a surprise, given what 20 Enschede, they've got big ambitions for Europe this season as well. I was actually quite surprised. Mm-hmm. This name is one I have to say I didn't see coming from anywhere. And when you look at it and you look at how important he's been to that team and its progression over the last couple of years, it looks like quite a decent signing for Rangers. It really does.
Yeah.
Burnsy, what do we know about on the other side of Glasgow's divide? What are you into? We're hearing that Paulo Bernardo could be done and dusted probably this evening, actually. What about yourself? What about the Adam Eder thing?
Adam Eder, well, as you know, Celtic made a bid a few weeks ago. And at that time, I wrote a story saying that I thought it was imminent and very close. And I got that from two sides. I mean, and that certainly came from the players' angle. At that point, they thought that a deal was very, very close. They thought with Adam indicating to Norwich that he wanted to go, that would force it over the line. But in fairness, Norwich have obviously stuck to their guns. They're looking for a fee, obviously a big fee, and things haven't really moved forward as quickly as probably Adam or Celtic would have liked. Obviously, it all comes down to a fee. I mean, you're hearing stuff on social media now that the fee's up to 11 million. I heard yesterday 12 million. But I mean, as far as I'm aware, that's the figure's now been banded about. It's not anywhere near that. So
that's pie in the sky stuff.
I know that's fine. No, that's what I'm saying. But you see some of them figures banded about in social media, but they're well wide of the mark. You know what I mean? But I think as it stands, with Norwich just now, it was more a case of, I think, putting their foot down. You know what I mean? They'd said that the new manager wanted to have a look at him, and that's what's happened. But at the same time, Adam Ida's stance hasn't changed. You know what I mean?
Well, the new manager wanted to have a look at him, and he didn't get on the plane. So the new manager couldn't get a look at him. It's funny when the players take matters into their own hands like that. You know, it's never too far away before there'll be a settlement. I don't think this one will take too long.
He's maybe taking the Duke approach at Aberdeen.
Yeah,
that's a very good point. Yeah.
Like, I think it'll happen. I mean, in terms of, I think, personal terms with the player and that, I think as soon as a deal's agreed with Norwich, it'll be done very, very quickly. And I would expect it to be done before the close of the window. As I said, at that time, the people we're speaking to, they genuinely thought it was very close to happening.
It was a fait accompli already.
Yeah.
What else you got in your bag of tricks, Bunsy?
I was going to say, a nice wee bobble that you could throw at us, aye.
Irvin Medal.
Oh, aye. Big Irvin Medal. Explosive.
I was thinking, what position is he playing?
I've got a new centre forward. I think, as it stands, you're still looking around Rangers and Celtic, aren't you, sort of thing. I did a story last week saying that Rangers had made an offer for Morgan Whittaker at Plymouth Argyle, which had been turned down. My understanding is that there have been 2 or 3 approaches since then with regards Whittaker, but as yet Plymouth Argyle have not. It's not been anywhere near the fee that Plymouth are wanting. Although by all accounts, Rangers' interest in that one's not dead, even though he's a winger. He plays in the same side as Václav Černý, but I'm told that Rangers, although they've brought in a couple of loan players and they've bought players, they are also looking to purchase players in the attacking positions, which would fall into your centre forward position with Shankland, etc. And, for example, if they could get a Whittaker or something like that.
One thing is for certain, Burnsy, you have got a busy few weeks ahead of you. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Brilliant, Bunsy.
Thank you. All the best, lads.
Scott.
Thank you.
The hamster wheel.
That's it, out.
Thanks.
Scott Burns there, and we should say, Keith, that obviously the transfer news has generated a massive reaction on Record Sports social media. And I should say, if you're watching, get involved. Leave us a comment in the comment section below. Going back to Robin Cropper, James Cooper on Facebook, make him the Rangers captain. It could be the change we need. Speedy Watson, he's a top-class player who cruise through Scottish football.
I love this. Guys have never heard of him until 2 minutes ago. He's now captain material. Look, he has been captain. He's going to cruise it. Yeah, there's nothing like the instant overreaction in Scottish football.
And Drew McMaster, who's a Hotline regular, have we actually signed a proper defender? Very droll.
Oh, I see what he's done there.
Yeah, and Joe McCallion, kind of agrees with you. Surprised 20th part of their captain this late summer. Got a good feeling about this one. Like you say, it's surprising that he is coming at this point, kind of out of the. We've said out of the blue now twice.
Yeah, I know, we need to stop that. What isn't surprising is that, if you listen to what Clement had said earlier in the window, yes, he needed to recalibrate the squad, refresh it, reboot it with some younger players who might go on to become assets. John Bennett said similar in his statement the other night that they need to have a longer term approach, but they also need a short term approach. And that's what I said to you when we were discussing this. I said my reading of my take from what John Bennett was saying was, yes, we do need to look at the longer term, but it doesn't mean that we dismiss
Mhm.
the shorter term.
Yeah.
And I think we've moved into phase 2 of the Kilmarnock rebuild now, and I think that. But this is the difficult phase, because this is the one that's going to cost you
Yeah.
significant outlays, and you know, as we're discussing there with Scott Burns, Rangers are going to have to get other guys out before they've got the cash,
Mhm.
cast iron guarantees of money coming in,
Yeah.
before they can start looking at where they're going to spend it. And that could be the problematic area,
Mhm.
but it would probably also be the exciting area for the Rangers supporters, because they'll be looking at that squad. They're not daft.
Yeah.
They've watched enough football. They've watched enough of Rangers over the last 10 years to know that a lot of experience, senior players have left the building. And it's crucial now, if they've to have any chance of making this a competitive season,
Mhm.
and we're already going to start them off as, you know, big second favourites
Yeah.
in the title race. To have any chance of closing the gap and making themselves actually even reasonably competitive
Mhm.
in the top flight, they're going to have 3, 4, 5 guys that have done it,
Mhm.
can be tried, and you know, hang your hat on guys.
Can start tomorrow
Yeah, well, you know,
at the weekend, obviously.
within reason, you know,
Aye.
you wouldn't maybe expect to have 5 new guys walk in the door and all walk into the first 11 for Tynecastle, but over the course of the next 2-3 weeks,
Yeah.
they need to look at season pros, guys that can make a difference, and then help with the development of these younger players that have come into the squad.
Yeah. A couple of other things that are relevant. Rangers easy okay. Sent us in a live comment on YouTube. Evening said last night, if Bennett wanted to make us feel better, sign first team ready players. Proper is that, and we badly need leaders in the park. Hopefully we can get Whittaker and Shankland as well. And just going back to the Shankland stuff, I know we've talked about Shankland every night this week, but Jimmy Mack saying here, Rangers must now sign Shankland immediately, and not an unknown foreign potential who knows nothing about what it means to play for Rangers. Otherwise, the title will be surrendered already.
I think there's 1 or 2 people inside Ibrox that have been making the same point over the last 48 hours.
That are of that opinion. Aye.
Yeah. Listen, as I said, I think things are starting to pick up speed. So, it's just one to keep an eye on, which is, of course, what we'll do.
Yeah.
In between taking naps and having a cup of cocoa in this little bunker that we've been put into. Yeah, we'll be doing that.
Absolutely. Look, the other stuff that Scott Burns mentioned was obviously across Glasgow Celtic. There's been a few developments since we were on last night as well. Adam Ida went AWOL from Norwich.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a strong reaction to that on Record Sports social media channels as well. This one I thought was particularly eye-catching. Paul McCormack, the clamour to sign Ida comes off the back of the guy almost being laughed in the door on loan in January, and look how good he turned out. Let the recruitment team do their job. However, that was kind of countered.
Of course it was.
By Kenny Wilson here. The lack of transfer at Celtic is absolutely astounding. The squad will be embarrassed again in Europe, and the board are taking their fans for absolute mugs. And David Bryce, what's he saying? He's of the same opinion of Kenny, I believe. He's saying the incompetence of the Celtic board is absolutely astounding. It's slapstick stuff for a bunch of guys who are only in top positions because the absent landlord is their pal.
We heard a lot of that, and we'll continue to hear a lot of that. I'd be in the camp more of the Celtic fans should know by now. It's probably better to wait and hold reserve judgment on this. Celtic do have a habit of coming late in the transfer market. I accept January wasn't great, and the summer before that wasn't particularly impressive. I have a feeling on this one that they know they have to back their manager.
Yeah.
Brendan Rodgers has been patient. He's come out and he said his little bits. I need quality. The board know that the supporters are hearing all this.
Mm-hmm.
There's an obligation on their part to come good for the manager, come through for the manager this summer. He's got the Champions League ahead. I fully expect Celtic to make some signs. Mind you, I think Brendan Rodgers was adamant today that what was it he said? We're not snoozing.
He said they can't be caught snoozing when it comes to transfers at this time of year. You cannot snooze in this game of football. You always have to be developing and improving. We want to ensure that we have an improved squad this season in order to take on all the challenges that we have. That was Brendan Rodgers just today.
Yeah. We're not asleep at the wheel, insists the defiant Celtic manager, moments before veering into the central reservation. No, I genuinely think. I refuse to believe, actually, that Celtic won't produce 3, maybe 4 quality additions between now and the end of August. They're just not in a great rush for it.
Yeah, look, I would say, I mean, a lot of people watching, a lot of the commenters, I think a lot of that ire comes from the fact that Celtic, we expect Bernardo to be announced, if not tonight, tomorrow. Only one outfield player in terms of the first game of the season.
But there's an argument here, Daniel, and I know where you're going with this. The argument is that the squad is weaker than it was at the end of last season.
Aye. But what I was actually going to say was maybe that's a good thing in the sense that, look, Celtic aren't going to sign, 8 £2 million players. Maybe it's taking them a while because it's going to be 2, 6, £7 million players.
That was Brendan Rodgers' main argument this time a year ago at the end of the summer transfer, that Celtic need to change their philosophy in the transfer market, that they need to be a little bit bolder, and in what he meant by that was that rather than spend 16 million on 8 £2 million players and hope that 2 or 3 of them come good and achieve a high sell-on value, that if you've got 16 to 18 million, then spend it in 3 or 4. Just increase the value, increase the price, increase the bravery of what you're prepared to do in the transfer market. And Brendan Rodgers is the type of guy that says, you give me a £5 million player today, I give you my guarantee he'll be a £10 million player in 2 years' time. Yeah. And I think if you look at the progression that's been made by Matt O'Reilly since Brendan Rodgers came to the club, that's his argument right there. Yeah. Give me someone of that level and I'll turn him into a guy that's going to be worth 3, 4, 5 times that.
Kendall San writing on Facebook, the Celtic board are uncomfortable giving Brendan money after he wasted 25 million from Jota and 13 flops last season. Now, don't think that's the case, but I think he's kind of touching in the same area that Celtic, it was more about quantity than quality.
Yeah, he's the only guy, the only Celtic fan that I've heard that would actually blame Brendan Rodgers for the previous transfer window.
Good point, aye.
Brendan Rodgers was quite clearly putting as much distance as himself as he possibly could between the transfer window and his own choices.
That's a very fair point.
And I expect the message get through, certainly to most Celtic fans, and 100% I expect to get through to the board.
And I should say, just to finish our news, Chris McGlinchey wrote in, and I thought this was a fair point about the Matt O'Reilly situation. He's saying that no Scottish club, whether the Glasgow 2 or the other, should be selling highly talented players for peanuts. Our league can and does produce quality players. I think it's a fair point. I think if Celtic, the price hasn't been met, if the value for O'Reilly hasn't been met, there's absolutely no reason to even entertain.
There's no reason other than what if you get an unhappy Matt O'Reilly.
Well, aye, that's the one thing, aye.
Because if Matt O'Reilly can treble his wages overnight by going to whatever, and by the way, don't be naive enough to think that the players don't know what's on offer if they do.
Aye.
Because they might have to rock the boat. Matt O'Reilly's head was turned during the January transfer window. He admitted it himself. His form suffered a little bit. There's only so many times you can say to a player, look, just give us 6 months, or give us, wait to January, wait to the summer, because eventually the player starts to get a little bit irritated by that. I think Matt O'Reilly seems perfectly happy, I have to tell you, and maybe the idea of playing for Celtic in the Champions League is what's lighting his fire just now. It could well be, but there are only so many times that a guy who's trying to make his way in the professional game will accept being roadblocked. Yeah, and that's the balance that Celtic have to find.
As Adamida's he will behave, maybe.
Well, exactly. That's
maybe
what
shows you.
Listen, there was another name, and it's not, funnily enough, the stuff that we were talking about. It's top of the show. Another name that's been linked with Rangers this afternoon is Marco Van Ginkel.
Of course,
31-year-old, former Chelsea, Holland international.
AC Milan as well at one point, I think.
Yeah, he was. Not sure. We're obviously trying to chase that one down. I would take one look at that and think, he's not going to be the world's biggest fee because he's a free agent and he's leaving Vitesse Arnhem. And we know Dutch clubs aren't the biggest players in the world. His injury track record has been substantial.
Really bad, yeah.
That would worry me, except maybe when you look at Rangers previous in that department. maybe that puts him to the top of the list. I don't know. But Clement being such a stickler for fitness and capacity to get about the pitch, that one doesn't seem like it would be a natural fit, but it's one that we'll be keeping an eye on because the name has certainly been gathering a bit of pace over, I'd say, over the last 5-6 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of names flying about on social media. Right, European football's back this week, Keith.
Yes.
As we know, massive night tomorrow night for Kilmarnock against Cercle Bruges. Earlier on today, we caught up.
Well, hold on, see before we do that.
Right, go on, yeah.
List your 5 best gangster movies.
Oh, wow. Right, this is off the back of in Bruges, I take it, because we're
That's
we're
it.
going to be in Bruges.
Craig Swan is in Bruges.
Aye.
That makes my top 5.
Godfather's got to be in there.
Yeah. Good fellas.
Hang on a minute, are you not a Godfather fan?
I love it.
Aye,
But it's a bit
absolutely.
cliche. Sexy Beast.
Oh, that's a cracker.
Brilliant
That's
film.
an absolute cracker.
Lock, Stock, and In Bruges with Craig Swan. My new favourite.
In Bruges with Craig Swan. Let's find out how we got on in Bruges with Craig Swan earlier on today. And as if by magic, we're joined all the way from Bruges by the miracle of the internet, by the one and only Craig Swan. Swanee, how's it going?
Yeah, good gentlemen. How are you?
Well, Swanee, I'm not going to lie. We are, as per usual, experiencing all sorts of technical issues. But I'm delighted to see you over there, mate. It's like been too long. How's things?
Okay, thank you, Keith. Aye, yeah, all good. It was a tricky journey yesterday. So Belgium's not too far away, but it seemed to take forever. But what was incredible on the journey was the amount of Kilmarnock fans that encountered at Edinburgh Airport, Brussels Airport, the train station. They say there's going to be 2,500 here in the away end, but
2,500.
I can't imagine it's only 2,500 people from Kilmarnock that are in Bruges, because it looks like an army have arrived.
By the way, what about Bruges?
Fabulous.
The place.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, haven't had a real chance to have a proper look. Yeah, I had a quick run around last night around the town centre and the square and that. Really, really nice. Been kind of busy today, so I've not had a chance. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to get out tonight after.
In Bruges.
Craig Swan is in Bruges. It's one of my favourite films.
Mine too, aye. It's a great film, aye.
So Swanee, what about this game? Obviously, I'm not sure it was the greatest result last week, even though it could have been worse. Performance-wise, though, Kilmarnock seemed right in this. What's your kind of expectation ahead of the second leg?
I think Derek McInnes made a very fair point at the end of the first leg last week, Keith, when he said you tend to have a kind of recency bias when you watch games, and you kind of remember how to finish. At Kilmarnock, it was a first competitive game for both the teams. Kilmarnock finished really strongly. Now, given the fact that Cercle Bruges, are a good, big, physical team, it was pretty impressive that Kilmarnock managed to get on top of them physically in the closing stages of the game, and they were the ones pushing to win it at the end. Now, Derek McInnes admitted it himself, and I think anybody that was at the game knows Robbie McCrory had 2 big saves. One at 0-0, then one at when it was 1-0 for Cercle Bruges after they took the lead. So, Cercle Bruges had 3 cracking chances before David Watson got his equaliser. So it's easy to remember the last 15-20 minutes and have mass positivity for Kilmarnock. Bruges were certainly dangerous, especially on counter-attacks. That's how they like to play. They get it up to the front 3 as quickly as they possibly can and try and play from there. So the one thing, both the managers said before the game that the teams were pretty similar in style.
Well, I was going to say, stylistically, then you've got 2 teams that want to get forward, want to get on the front foot, and don't mind being a bit direct.
Yeah, and don't mind putting a foot in either if it's necessary. It was physical. There was a few tasty tackles. None of them were backing away from the fight. To be fair, Cercle Bruges were quite upfront about that before the first game. They said, we are a physical team. I think the exact quote from the coach was, if you play against Cercle Bruges, it's always physical. So they knew what they were going to be facing against Kilmarnock, and they were ready for it. And Kilmarnock stood up to them fantastic. Listen, I don't think anybody who watched the game last week thought there was going to be a DVD coming out. In terms of classic football, it wasn't there. But in terms of intent, fight, physicality, chances, excitement, I thought it was a really good game, and I would expect more of the same on Thursday night.
But having seen the first leg, Swanee, and obviously we know away goal doesn't matter anymore, so it's not a kind of such a bad result as it would have been in previous years for Killie. How do you rate the chances of getting through? I mean, we know that Bruges will probably be the favourites, but we know the thing with this Killie team is no matter who they're playing, they're not going to be easy to beat.
They've got a remarkable resilience about them. I think that we saw through last season that when they lose, they can put it this way. If Kilmarnock were to lose the first goal on Thursday night in Belgium, there's a propensity for Scottish teams to crumble a wee bit when they lose it. I wouldn't see Kilmarnock doing that. I think they would stay in the fight. I think the same as what they did at home. I don't think they'll be any different away from home. I think that's just how they are. We saw in instances last season they came from behind to beat Celtic, which is the best barometer you can get in the Scottish game at the moment. So That was a fantastic performance. So that's the type of resilience and fight that they have. I'll be interested to see. Cercle Bruges are certainly talking as if they might be a bit more expansive football-wise on Thursday night. They didn't make any secret of the fact that they didn't fancy the Rugby Park pitch. The coach said it was in bad condition. They didn't like it. Now, given the amount of time the ball air, I'm not really sure how much the pitch had much to do with it. But they've been speaking quite openly about how they may be able to make it a faster game. It's a natural sort of grass surface here. They reckon the pitch is slightly bigger. The pitch behind me is just slightly wider than Rugby Park. But that's true or not, I don't know. I haven't paced it. I don't think I could get across a pitch these days.
I could roll you across, Swanee.
You could roll me across it with a nice flat surface then.
That's out of order, Swanee. Don't accept that. Don't play along. That's nonsense, Swanee. Don't take that.
I'm fat shaming my colleagues. So, Swanee, tell me this though, because I fancy Kilmarnock when it comes down to, you know, if Bruges think that we'll take them on at football once we get them onto their own pitch, I'm not sure that they've properly judged this Kilmarnock side, because Kilmarnock play on grass, big grass pitches frequently throughout the Scottish season, and they're very adept at it. And
you're right, Keith. Sorry, you're right, Keith. It's a great misnomer about Kilmarnock. Actually, look through the Kilmarnock team. You know, guys like Matty Kennedy and Danny Armstrong, great technical footballers.
Exactly.
It's not just one-dimensional. And I think a few rival managers have made comment about the fact. I know Neil Warnock was saying, we were bullied. Well, listen, football's about two aspects. Just because you can mix it up and you can be physical when you need to be, doesn't mean to say you can't play. Keith, I'm with you. My biggest hope for Thursday night is that Kilmarnock are still in this tie with 30 minutes to go. Because I have a real feeling that they might get really strong, just on the basis of what I saw last week. I don't know. We made reference to the fact Kilmarnock haven't been in Europe for 5 years. Cercle Bruges haven't been in Europe for 14 years.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to be feeling a bit of tension when it gets to the nitty-gritty tomorrow night. On Thursday night. So,
Swanee, I was saying, I've just got a feeling you might be the right guy in the right place at the right time. Every year, at this point in the European qualification, we've got Scottish teams that have kind of celebrated getting into Europe and then have embarrassed themselves at these stages. No embarrassment if Kilmarnock go out against this side, but I've just got a feeling there might be something better. I think they might just flip the trend here and get us through. And I'm also very interested to see what the mood with the Kilmarnock fans is, because they must be thrilled with the impact and the difference that Derek McInnes has made to this team over the last 18 months or a couple of years. 18 months.
Keith, absolutely over the moon. I don't think, it's not so long ago Kilmarnock fans were dealing with it. We've been relegated from the Premier League. You told them that night when they went down, even when they beat Arbroath, to come back up, to be in Europe so quickly. I think there's two sides to it, Keith. I think you're right in what you say. The draw, I don't think, has been a bad thing, because I think sometimes Scottish clubs have gone in and are hiding to nothing. You look at Kilmarnock the last time, Connah's Quay Nomads. People expected them to win 8-0. I think actually getting Cercle Bruges, you used the phrase there, it's not an embarrassment to go out to Cercle Bruges. Well, of course it's not. But that helps in a way. It takes a bit of that kind of heat off. Also, you hear clubs and fans and managers and players, listen, it's lip service. What they're going to say, of course, they feel the conviction that they should be there, and yes, we deserve our place, and yes, we're going to go for it. But you actually listen to Kilmarnock's players and you listen to Derek McInnes, it's real. This is
conviction.
They believe it.
They genuinely believe they deserve to be here. Well, they do deserve to be here, obviously, to qualify. But what I mean is competing at this level. And they showed last week in the first leg they can compete. Listen, Derek McInnes is a fantastic manager. He's been over the course with Aberdeen before in these stages. It was always difficult to go over the final hurdle because of the seeding stuff with Aberdeen. Listen, it probably might be the same with Kilmarnock, depending where they get to when they end up non-seeds right at the latter stages of qualifying. But right now, they're in there fighting. They've got every chance. And like I say, as long as they do the hard yards and stay in the tie early doors and they're still in it, in the game, I could really see them finishing strong. And listen, this would be an incredible result if they could get a result here.
Brilliant, mate. I'm with you, Swanee.
Swanee, thanks very much for joining us. I can't stop pitching you now with an ice cream cone like Colin Farrell and in Bruges. So
just don't go up the bell tower.
Exactly.
No, I'm going to roll about the park. Jacko says I've got to flatten it off. So I'm going to make sure the sorry for Robbie McCrory.
Well, cheers, Swanee, and fingers crossed for a good result. That was Craig Swan from Bruges there. Going back to our gangster films, Keith. Pulp Fiction. It's got to be in there.
Well, yeah, but it's not made my top 5. I love it. But this is a hard pick.
It is hard. It is
Top
tricky.
5 is a hard
I'm
pick.
sitting here thinking, I should say if you're watching at home.
You Charlie Nicholas.
If you're watching at home, feel free to get involved in our gangster films argument. But I think that's it for tonight, Keith.
Yeah.
For tonight's Hotline Live, another packed edition. Should say for everyone watching, thank you very much for getting involved. You can leave us comments in the comment section below. You can also email us at hotline@dailyrecord.co.uk.
And keep your eye out because things are happening.
Things are happening. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.